Being deferred in early decision and early action puts you in admissions limbo, and it can feel like a black hole. But there are things that you can do that actually help. Let me show you how to move from wait and see to real strategy. Hey there parents, families, and students. My name is Andrew Hoffman. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you everything that I know about being deferred based on my nearly 20 years of experience as an admissions officer at highly selective colleges and universities. If you've recently been deferred by your early decision or early action school, I'm here to start by saying that feeling of uncertainty is completely normal. Unlike a denial, a deferral keeps you in the process, but it's this weird in-between for students and families, and they're just not sure how to feel about it. Today, I'm going to explain what a deferral means from the admission side, why colleges do it, and most importantly, how you can take meaningful steps to improve your chances in regular decision. Let's dive in. When you're deferred, the college is essentially saying, we're not ready to make a final decision yet, but we do want to reconsider you in the context of the regular decision pool. This happens at highly selective colleges and universities all the time. In fact, it happens at hundreds and hundreds of colleges across the country. But here's what most students and families don't necessarily understand. Deferral is an institutional tool. It helps colleges manage their admit rate, their yield, their limited number of spots in their early program, and their ability to compare the early pool against their regular pool. Like it or not, deferrals are designed to help the institution, not the individual college applicant. But not all colleges use deferrals in the same way. Here are some ways in which colleges use their deferral program. Number one, colleges that defer everyone. Some schools defer all non-admitted students in their early program. No one gets denied, to the extreme disappointment of school counselors everywhere. The more humane way of doing things is to simply deny students you have no intention of admitting. But hey, I'm not in charge of every college. If you applied early to one of these colleges that defer everyone, you don't necessarily have any additional advantage any longer. You're simply competing in the regular pool. And yes, that means you're going to be waiting several more months for your final decision. It stinks, and I'm sorry. 2. Colleges that defer a sizable portion of their pool. These schools may defer 25, 35, 40, 50% of their early applicants. They often say in their deferral letter that they want to see you in the context of the full pool. This may give you a slight boost over regular applicants, but you're still one of many. Unfortunately, colleges don't always tell you how many students they deferred or how many students they take from the deferral pool. It isn't required that colleges report this information, and they don't always share this information with applicants and school counselors. 3. Colleges that defer very few students. This was the practice at Swarthmore when I worked there. Out of about 1,000 to 1,500 early decision 1 and 2 applicants, we only deferred around 75 students or so less than 10%. And come the springtime, we regularly admitted about half of those students. Some other highly selective institutions, like Brown and Yale, report that they defer less than 20% of their applicants. By the way, these students weren't bound by the terms of the ED agreement any longer. They were free to apply anywhere and enroll anywhere. But most of them, at least in my experience at Swarthmore, enrolled when admitted. So the college benefits from strong yield while giving a handful of applicants a second chance. This is probably the ideal scenario out of all three, but it just means that we had to deny a ton of students. So why do colleges defer students in the first place? There are a few reasons here, and the first is courtesy deferrals. This is similar to a courtesy waitlist. The college doesn't want to deny a student. Maybe that student has strong family and legacy ties to the institution, or possibly financial ties, and they definitely don't want to do this right before winter break. So they defer them and make a final call in March. In the case of pure courtesy deferrals, the final decision will be a deny decision, but you don't necessarily know that. 2, they need more information. First semester grades are a major reason for deferral. If a student had a slip in the first quarter grades, they want to see that improvement on the first semester grade report. Strong grades and a rebound can help here. 3, demonstrated interest. At some colleges, a lack of demonstrated interest can result in a deferral. If the college tracks demonstrated interest, the student should open emails, engage with the applicant portal, attend virtual events, and possibly visit campus. I hate to even suggest that because not everyone has the means to afford a trip to campus or another trip to campus. But it is the reality that some colleges give weight to this, especially if you have the means to do so. This isn't always equitable, and not all colleges track demonstrated interest, but if they do, you should definitely take it seriously. Number 4, this college is not your number one choice. Or at least that's what they think. This is similar to demonstrated interest, but this is specifically referring to early action. After reviewing your application, they think you might have your sights set on another institution. Colleges don't love this, and it's not just because they have egos just like the rest of us. It's because they have less of a chance of yielding you if they admit you outright. So instead, they're going to defer you and see if you stick with them. Obviously, colleges are judging this based on very limited information. Perhaps this is your top choice, and you've done literally everything you can to demonstrate that, but the college just isn't buying it. Hang with them through the deferral period. They want to know if you're still interested, and if you are, you most likely will have a higher chance of admission. Number 5, managing limited early spots and yield. This is a huge factor. Colleges often employ some artificial ceiling on the number of ED spots they offer. This can either be an admissions practice or board mandated. Hooked applicants, including athletes, legacies, and others that meet other institutional priorities, often make up a very large share of the early class. Colleges then defer strong but unhooked applicants to keep them in the pool. If they had another 20 spots, for example, they would have taken more. So this really doesn't have anything to do with the weakness of the deferred applicants. It's just about choices that the college is making. And here's the real reason colleges love deferrals. Deferred students who are admitted yield at an extremely high rate. And this makes sense. For early decision, you applied via a binding commitment. So most likely, you're still really excited about that institution. At Swarthmore, our regular decision yield was around 25%. But for those that were deferred and then later admitted in regular decision, that figure was more like 80%. So yes, deferral can benefit you, but it mostly benefits the college. So what exactly can you do to improve your chances? First, take a moment for yourself and then reach out. This can be a very simple email to your regional admissions officer, thanking them for reviewing your application and letting them know that you're still interested. You look forward to hearing back from them in the spring. That's it. It's a very small gesture, and I'm not saying that this is going to compel any admissions officer to then think about admitting you in the spring. But colleges do track all correspondence from applicants, so at the end of the day, this can only help matters. In my personal experience, this was very neutral. Two things really matter in deferrals. One is institutional priorities, and the second is your letter of continued interest. More on that later. Number 2, ask how many students were deferred and typically admitted from the deferred list. Plain and simple. And why is this important? It's going to allow you to gauge whether or not you have a legitimate shot of admission, and if you should spend a lot of energy trying to get admitted from the defer list. Sometimes colleges report these figures in the student newspaper or in a website blog. And if that's not the case and the college doesn't list this in the deferral letter, you can ask. If they defer thousands of students, your odds probably decrease. If they defer 20% or fewer, your odds are probably better, but it really depends on how many students they typically take from the deferred list. For example, if the college defers 20% of early decision applicants to regular decision, but they only take 5% of those students who are deferred, then it really doesn't matter how many students were deferred in the first place. Some colleges won't tell you, but some will. And the worst case scenario is they don't release that information to you. Number 3, ask your counselor if they know the numbers. Sometimes colleges release additional information to school counselors, independent consultants, and college access organizations. I get this information often, so be sure to ask your college helpers if they receive that information. Number 4, keep your school counselor in the loop. On the same topic, remember that your school counselor is most likely going to submit your mid-year transcript to that school automatically. If there's important context, counselors can also share that with admissions, so be sure to keep them in the loop and make sure that they know that you were deferred. Number 5, accept your spot if the portal asks you to do so. This shows that you're still interested and your application will be reviewed in regular decision. Not every college will ask you to accept your spot on the deferred list, but if they do, be sure to do so. Alternatively, some colleges use deferred interest forms. This acts as both a confirmation of your interest as well as a letter of continued interest. Both Michigan and the University of Southern California use these deferral forms, so be sure to check your email, deferral letter, and your portal. Number 6, demonstrate interest if applicable. Like I said, if the college tracks demonstrated interest, keep engaging. Open emails, click links, attend online information sessions. This can help, but only at colleges that actually track it. Number 7, write a strong letter of continued interest. Most colleges expect this, and some explicitly say to do so. Here are some tips. Send it in late January or early February at the latest. Typically, you'll want to address it to the dean or the vice president of admissions. Obviously, if the deferral letter says something different, be sure to do so. Keep the letter to 1 page. Reaffirm your genuine interest. And this is where you might reaffirm your ties to the institution. If you have family members who have attended that institution, that's great, add that. They probably already know that, but that's fine. If you attended one of their important admissions programs and you had a great time, be sure to mention that as well. Or if you had an incredible interview, mention that. These things might matter at the margins. And finally, share major updates. First semester grades, awards, projects, maybe updated testing. Here's the rub though. I hear other consultants tell students all the time that colleges care about new accomplishments or additional letters of recommendation, maybe additional community service hours. In my experience, that does not matter. Grades probably matter the most, but limited helpful updates can strengthen your narrative. And if you need further assistance with this, I just launched my Letter of Continued Interest service at my website, AskDrHoffman.com. I will review your application and materials, as well as your deferral letter from the admissions office, and help you draft and edit your Letter of Continued Interest. I'll ensure there's alignment across all of your materials, and I'll also share ways in which I think that you can improve your chances. Sign up using the link below if you've been deferred. And number 8, follow up one more time at the beginning of March. Decisions for deferred candidates usually take place at the very end of the cycle, after regular decision has concluded and all of the other committees are done with their work. Then admission leaders can evaluate where the class sits, what institutional priorities still remain, and who is still on the deferred list. So a strategic, concise, and targeted email to your regional admissions officer during the first week of March can help. It signals your continued interest, and you can request whether or not they received your letter of continued interest as well as your first semester grades. Now they might list this in your applicant portal that these items have been received, and if so, don't ask about that. You don't want to give the admissions officer the wrong impression that you're not paying attention. That can actually do more damage because they might assume that you're on multiple deferred lists, which you might be, and you got your colleges mixed up. Details really matter here. A deferral can feel like a black hole, but it is not a denial. If you are still in the game, there are real opportunities to improve your chances over the next few months. Focus on your grades, a letter of continued interest, and smart engagement. And if you want help strengthening your regular decision applications, sign up for my application review service, also at my website, AskDrHoffman.com. I'll go through your applications line by line and provide you edits, advice, and feedback, all based on my experience as a former admissions officer. Finally, to get a real perspective of how admission officers read your application, check out one of my latest videos on committee-based evaluation. Thanks so much for watching, best of luck, and we'll see you in the next video.